Welcome to Objections, Stanley Willis. I am a friend, a close family friend of Stanley Willis, maybe his son. Stan, how are you? I'll answer for you.
I'm not sure what to say.
I will say this. I feel that this show has brought us together.
I didn't realize that I was sexually active at 4.
Okay. First of all, Dad, I don't need to hear that. You're making things awkward right off the rip. I just wanted us to do this together.
You're the one telling all the dirty jokes.
They're not dirty jokes. They are things that I see and I ask questions. Right. I'm the Jacques Cousteau of asking questions about dirty things.
Yeah. Isn't it Jacques?
Maybe to you. I speak fluent French. When I wasn't studying law, I was studying French.
Really?
You ever see that? What was
You speak fluent French.
Isn't that how DiCaprio got that heavier set chick in Titanic? He was reading French poetry. She said, "Paint me like your French girls."
Well, whatever. You know.
I'm sure that's how that worked. The guy, first of all, she's a high society person, and he's some dreg in the bottom.
It's amazing how well things go when you're reading from a script.
The guy in the bottom of the boat with all the bums has dysentery, and she's up there eating the fine foods. I'm sure that they would have hooked up.
Oh, yeah. It always works out that way. The poor guys always get the rich girls. It's the way it goes. It's natural.
That's why all those Instagram influencers with all the models, they started poor, and those women just understand them. Speaking of things that we don't understand, the government...
there's a big, long list of that stuff.
Yeah, well, let's just start with something easy. Jimmy, 81 million votes, says that they want to pay $450,000 to the people if they were... What's the term? Separated, and then if you have a family, it's $900,000. Can you tell me where across the border that I can jump over? Because I was going to go to Tampa, but I don't think that's the right border.
Well, if you jumped over into Mexico, I doubt they would offer the same deal.
But have we tried it?
It's worth a shot.
Wait a minute. You just brought up something really... What if they're offering matching funds, and for everyone that goes back and forth, it's like a net zero? Because all the trillions of dollars they want to spend is net zero. It won't cost you a dime. Maybe that's how this works. I just solved it.
Wow. $450,000 is a lot of money. If you offer that to enough people, it probably just continues to devalue the currency like we're already doing. So, I guess, more power to you. If you want to have the Fed print that money up for you and you can just go dole that out, that's cool.
How are they going to find these people when I'm sure they all came over and said they were Fernando Valenzuela just so they could be random? Like, how would you go back and claim that?
I don't know how. I don't know how they're keeping track. From my understanding, most of the people that are crossing the border are just like getting a ride to wherever they want to go and no questions asked. And it's a lower standard than voting. You just have to show up and we'll take you wherever. You don't have to show your ID.
You have to prove that you're in this country.
You don't even have to prove that you're a real person. You just have to show up. You could seriously be an alien or like a mule or whatever, and they'd be like, as long as you can say in some language, "Take me to Minneapolis," okay.
But how do you prove that you were detained? Do you think that they put cattle where they put that thing in their ear?
I'm sure there are very good records.
Oh, God.
You probably have to say I was detained.
Okay.
Or something close to that.
Remember when all those people when they said people aren't coming here across the border, mm-hmm. and they're not living under a bridge. Mm-hmm. And it started with 250 people and it got to 12,500 people. And then as soon as all the news media was actually paying attention to it, the next day they were gone. Are those people entitled to compensation? Because that's what I hear on TV all the time.
I don't really know. I'm not really sure how this whole thing is going to work. You kind of get bits and pieces of what's going on, but I haven't really. I don't think I've seen anything that had any kind of detail on what is actually being proposed.
So I don't think they have the fine. But this is separate.
It's like a UFO. There's something out there. We just don't know what it is.
Wasn't that what Bill Hicks said? He said, "I don't know what pornography is, but I know what it isn't."
That was actually Judge Stevenson back in the 70s.
Was he funny? Because Bill Hicks was.
At that moment, he was.
I think that's hilarious. Well, I remember Bill Hicks saying that, and I thought, why is this going to apply to my life? Because no matter the way it's phrased, it's like we don't have a lot of information on any of this stuff, right? So Bernie Sanders wanted to spend $10 billion for all these social services and that. Now we went to, I think it was 8.6 and 6.8. Now they're at 1.7. And essentially that's going to just build like a few roadways, and it's not going to be enough.
But do we really care what Bernie wants to do?
No, but I'm saying now that, first of all, this guy gave up the seat twice. I don't mean his backside. I mean, he literally, they wanted him over Hillary, and then he stepped aside.
Yeah.
Does it for Biden. He's ahead when the pandemic hits.
Right.
And then he steps aside because Bernie, don't worry about it. And then now no one listens to him. But he's gone on all the news shows and say, you got to trust Brandon, and he knows what he's doing and all that. Meanwhile, the guy has no idea what he's doing.
But you can see what's happening. And, you know, I almost hate to say that. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and because back in the day, it was the freedom kind of people. We were the defenders
of the peace, love, dope kind of people.
No, we were the defenders of the Constitution. We were the defenders of the Bill of Rights. I mean, that's where I cut my teeth. But the problem that the Democratic Party has is essentially it's kind of it's not cohesive. I mean, when you look at the Republican Party, there are principles that kind of congeal the party. When you look at the Democratic Party, there are no the Democrats are. I mean, you have the squad progressives, and then you have the Bernie and Warren progressives, and then you have whatever Pelosi is kind of in the middle, and then you have Manchin. Then you have Manchin over here, Munchin, the guy from West Virginia, who's more conservative, and Sinema, she's a little bit more conservative, and then you have the power brokers and the elites, and like the John Brennans of the world, who are really kind of liberal neocons, and the party is so diverse that when the party gets in power, they just tend to fight amongst themselves and never get anything done. I mean, look at what's going on. They can't pass a bill. They've got a majority technically in both houses, and they can't pass a bill.
But don't you think that part of that is that if you took the Republican Party, as you said, it's kind of like one unit, so they don't really tend to step out of line. Right. So a lot of people would have a problem picking out who they are because there's no standard bearer.
Well, there's certainly a radical portion of the Republican Party, the same there is for a Democrat Party. I mean, in the last election, they were the Tea Party people or whatever. They go by different names and stuff. So there's certainly a radical portion, but it's not. Their ideology is not as far removed from the mainstream of the Republican ideals as the Democrat extremes are removed from the central of their ideals, and they don't seem to. I mean, in recent history, other than let's say after Kennedy, the only Democratic president who seems to have been able to kind of get the party together and get them behind was Bill Clinton. And that's mostly because Bill Clinton was a centrist, really, in his thought.
And he also got behind almost anybody.
Yes, he did. But he had a few kind of hard left turns during his administration, but those were kind of driven more by Hillary than by him, I think. But he had very strong centrist tendencies, and so Clinton was able to actually get some bipartisan support on some things, and where by the time you get down to Obama and this they can't even get support from their own people, let alone get anything from across the aisle. They're too they're too extreme in their viewpoints.
Do you think it's because if you looked at it, if you go back to say a Bob Dole or a McCain or people like that ran, or even like a Romney, where it was like they are so hard to this. It was almost like their approach was do no harm, but corporate companies matter and companies feed people if you work in the machine. It feels like this is the opposite. Like you have this push on the left side of the aisle that they are going to tell you the things that you need without knowing that's what you need. So when I see a Cori Bush or an AOC, and they're great at putting on the show. They're pomp and circumstance. And then when you look at their voting record, they vote in line with the way they're supposed to. So when you looked at Afghanistan, they provide cover. They're supposed to be running on ending wars. We end a war, but then in perpetuity, I think we're giving another $168 billion in perpetuity for a war we're not fighting. It's for any war. They voted. The squad has enough, well, depending on how this election has shaken out, they have enough votes to kill any bill because they have 7. They're not using that. They're all falling in line with Schumer and Pelosi.
To a degree, but they're not. They are, but they're not. I mean, this is they spend a lot of time squabbling amongst themselves about things, and it makes it so they can't get anything done. It's the same thing happened during the Carter administration. I mean, when he was in there, when Jimmy Carter was in office, the other Democrats did not support him. I mean, he was pretty much left out to dry.
But wasn't that during the same time when you had the fuel crisis and those kind of things?
He had about the same things going on that we have going on now. I think what we have going on now might be a little bit more severe than what was going on. But you had the fuel crisis, and you had the rampant inflation,
the Sandinistas,
and you had the Iranian hostage crisis, and I mean there were lots of things going on during. But
when you're describing that seems like nothing compared to what's going on right now.
Well, that's what I say. I think what's going on now is more potentially existential and dangerous than what was happening in the 70s. I think. I mean, you think about. I don't know. It took us. Somebody said that it took us until the Reagan administration to get something like $900 billion in debt, and we added that in March of the 2020 during COVID. I mean, things have progressed quite actually stunningly.
So you like it?
No.
Oh, I thought you meant like it was beautiful.
No, I mean in a frightening way.
Oh, well, you have to be more clear.
I'm kind of translucent, I guess.
You are. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I had this question.
Okay.
Whose fault is it when all the campaign promises, like we're used to being lied to? Like I like the commercials where you're with your dog and your kids and all that. And I know you got a mistress. I know you beat your wife and all that. I love when you lie to me.
I don't have a mistress.
Not you, but you're not running for office
But
yet.
you're saying you.
I mean you in the pejorative.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're talking like sheep.
Yes. But if you're with a sheep, that's felonious. So Minnesota, their big thing was we're going to defund the police. We're going to get a neighborhood watch type of thing, and that fails tremendously.
Of course.
As we all know it would. Whose fault is that? Because the people in power today said we're going to have police reform across the country. So far, I can't remember where it's at. Well, the Chicago police, they just don't even show up anymore. They're not even allowed to run. Did you know they're not allowed to run after a suspect? They have to call it in and say, Nate, can I run after this guy with the machete? I can't? Okay, well, he's 9 blocks away now. Okay? But police reforms haven't really taken place the way they said they would. Whose fault is that? Because is that not knowing your voting base and they're thinking emotionally versus rationally?
No, I think that I think a lot of that movement comes from. I hesitate to say this, but I think that a lot of the movement comes from or starts in a place that actually has somewhat good intentions, because I think they start in a place where they're saying, I see suffering among these people in whatever particular area this is. And then I think that their belief system becomes, if we just go in and talk and educate all these people about the problems, then they'll fix the problems. And so then they turn that into this misguided idea that somehow the police are now oppressing these folks, when in reality the police are maintaining some semblance of order, which is required for anybody to flourish. Nobody flourishes in chaos. Well, very few people flourish in chaos.
Thank you.
Most people require some semblance of order. The people from Grove City, they're used to chaos.
We have 2 Waffle Houses. We don't give a shit what's going on in town.
Amen,
but we have like
brother.
60 cops.
Amen, brother. But here's the thing, though. The idea to defund the police and the idea that police are somehow oppressive is just crazy. It's a crazy idea. Now, are there some people? Are there some police officers that are crazy and shouldn't be police officers? Yeah, I'm sure there are. There are some people who are lawyers who shouldn't be lawyers. There are some people who are whatever the hell you do that shouldn't be doing that.
I'm an educator. I'm an educator of people's minds. That's what I do.
So I guess it's but what happens is that folks these folks have taken this what may have been a genuine desire to help, and they've turned it into this radical idea that's fundamentally stupid, and nobody's saying, hey, this is a fundamentally stupid idea. But you see,
but you win elections on that, right? I'm going to take the concept.
You can win elections on fundamentally stupid ideas.
But at some point, someone has to turn around. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I didn't want this to go away. You created this backlash towards authority, all authority, right? So Republican president, Republican majority. Well, those cops protect those guys. They're not protecting you. Once you do that, you have to make a choice.
Right.
You have to go all in on that concept, good, bad, or indifferent, and you have to show change, because otherwise no one's going to believe you, right? You're crying wolf all the time. And I think that's the problem is college was going to be free. It's not. Mm-hmm. Funding to traditionally black colleges got cut. The war didn't end. We just walked away from it. And it was a disaster. I'm not blaming that on any one person. I'm saying you got majority, you got the presidency. Now what are you going to do with it? You would think that status quo is not going to be enough.
Right.
They've done nothing. They haven't even made a move.
They're going in the direction they want to go. It's just not. It's not a direction that has any kind of real generalized benefit behind it. I mean, they're clearly going the direction they want to go, and they're clearly getting the result that they want to get. Because if they weren't getting the results they wanted to get, they would change the direction. But when you see things happen, like they lose in Virginia, and they double down on the mandates and all the stuff that they're doing, that tells you they don't care. They're not worried about getting reelected. There's something else driving all this. It would be purely speculation as to what it is that's driving it, but it's something else. It's not staying in political office, because the handwriting's on the wall. I'll be very surprised if you don't flip both houses of Congress in the 2022 elections. I'll be shocked. And so then you'll have an administration that's basically a lame duck administration. Sort of, you have the same problem Obama had during his last 2 years, where the Republicans where the Republicans just say, we're not doing anything, we don't care.
So I get that, but when again we talk about this all the time, whether we're doing this or not. I don't understand what the end goal is. It doesn't seem like in Obama's second term, they're like, hey, we're not going to do anything, so don't worry about this next 4 years. So nothing really inflammatory. Right now, it's like your house is on fire, and someone's like, we'll get to it in a minute. And so I don't understand how any of this is benefiting an American citizen.
Well, it's... So if you are Jeff Bezos, you own Amazon, who's your competition?
Well, obviously, it would be Walmart.
Walmart and
nobody. Just
Family Dollar and all the mom and pop stores around whatever town you live in that supply these things, right? So if you're him, what's better for you? Is it better for you that people are out and about shopping, or is it better that people are sitting at home with nothing to do?
Shopping.
Really?
Or excuse me, I thought you meant shopping his site.
No, the people. He's better.
Because when I'm out, like we'll be talking, I'm like, I'm gonna get on my Amazon app and order that. That's what I thought you meant. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No. What I'm saying
I hate to be home and doing it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the world is better for him if you're staying at home. What's better for Facebook? Is it better for Facebook that you're out interacting with people, or is it better for Facebook that you're at home and you can't go out?
Right.
I mean,
I get it.
So when you look at what the end goal is of all these things, I think ultimately you just follow the money. I mean, the end goal is for whoever's making the money to make more money. That's the end goal of all this stuff. And the fact is that they don't care about average Joe. They don't care about us at all. They only care about them making more money.
That's not what Kamala Harris said. She cares about me. She said that. I'm
sure she does.
In a stop here.
She thinks you're a freaking hottie.
Would you, if Kamala Harris came in here today and wanted to host this show with you, would you get rid of me? Be honest, because I feel like, why are you thinking about this long? The answer is just no.
I don't know, Nate. What do you think?
The ratings on the show would go down. Actually, she has nothing to do because she's not going to be the president.
Well, she's supposed to be taking care of that border crisis.
Well, she did go. She went to On the Border, which is right around the corner over here.
And had some tacos.
Yeah. I feel safer after this conversation. This is terrible, everything you said. You're bringing down everybody with your telling the truth. But you know what? That's what we do here. Truth is
not my thing. I really prefer to lie to everybody. So, it's all rosy, man. It'll be great.
That's why we're lawyers. You've been listening to Objections with Stan Willis. We'll see you next week.